A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Like the legs of the lame that hang limp is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like one who binds a stone in a sling is he who gives honour to a fool. Like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. The great God who formed everything gives the fool his hire, and the transgressor his wages. As a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for him. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we begin to look at this treatise on fools from Proverbs chapter 26, verses 3 to 12. 10 verses addressing the subject of the fool. The fool is the person who does not learn and just repeats the same mistake time and time again. Well, let's explore some of the particular things that are said in this passage. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. So the first focus here is that to train a person, to give them a little bit of wisdom, there needs to be discipline. The horse is disciplined with a whip. The donkey is disciplined with a bridle. And the fool is disciplined with a rod on his back. It is said of the Lord Jesus, he will rule with a rod of iron. Those in authority have a rod and authority to discipline those who are in error. Of course, there is a limit to how far these things go, in that they cannot solve the problem. They can get a short reaction, but at a certain point the whip loses its power. At a certain point the bridle loses its power, and the rod loses its power. So the Jews had a limitation of no more than 40 rods, 40 strokes to be applied as punishment. Of course, we'd like to think that you could just tell a person what is the right way and they would follow it. But the reality is that that approach does not usually work. A sensible person, when something goes wrong, then they will respond to it. A hard person delights in the fact that he's received the cane and boasts about the fact that he's had 4, he's had 6, and he didn't winch. Well, it's better that we not engage in the offence in the first place. The whole purpose of the rod is to direct us away from the behaviour that instigated the punishment. But the fool is not redirected. The fool persists in his way. Sometimes we think of the rod of stripes as being punishment for wrongdoing, and that having received the punishment, then we carry on. But the real way to think about these things is that they are discipline to us, to train us in the way of righteousness. For having received stripes does not actually undo the sin that we have performed. Rather, its purpose is to discourage us from committing that sin again. It is intended to train us in righteousness. In Hebrews 12, Paul urges us not to despise the chastening of God, for God disciplines his children with the experiences of our life, that he might train us in the way of righteousness, and that we should not despise the discipline of God, not fight against it and not resist it, but learn by the experiences of life that he brings to us. It can sometimes be said the Bible doesn't contradict itself, but then there are sometimes questions that do not have an answer. And here we have 2 contradictory verses side by side. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So we have two statements side by side, which present the dilemma of how you respond to someone who is foolish. If you engage with them in their foolishness, then you become a fool yourself. But if you do not engage with them, then they think that they are wise, they think that they are right. And so I guess the answer is that there needs to be a little bit of both. That on some occasions you will answer a fool, but on other occasions you will not. When the Lord Jesus was accused before the Sanhedrin, the Council of Jerusalem, with false accusations, he did not answer at all. But he did acknowledge that he was the Son of God and that he was Christ, the Messiah. When he stood before Herod, he did not give Herod an answer. And yet when he stood before Pilate, yes, he did engage in discussion with Pilate and sought to explain to him that yes, indeed, he was the King of the Jews, that he was the Son of God, and that Pilate, in fact, had no say in the matter, although he thought he did. But it is always an issue and a problem how to respond to a person who is behaving as a fool, who is saying foolish things. And our society is full of people. There is a definition of a fool given in Psalm 2. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. So the fool is, in that context, one who takes the place of God himself, who declares that he is right, he is the answer, he has all wisdom, that he is in control. A person who is behaving like that, there is no point engaging with him. It's just distracting. It makes you look like him. An argument that's not going to lead anywhere. And yet there are occasions, as we've said, where it is appropriate to respond so that the fool knows his foolishness. The foolishness of modern man is so evident when the Parliament thinks it can declare abortion is not murder because it's convenient to get rid of babies in the womb rather than to address the real issues of licentiousness and irresponsibility, of declaring males are females and females are males, and I can't see any rationalisation for that at all. And there was even a discussion on the radio the other day of a person who wanted to legally change his age, as if changing his date of birth by 20 years was going to alter anything, except legal access to things that have an age barrier limited to them. This kind of foolish response to a situation just makes the whole system foolish. If you've got an age restriction and then you have a workaround of that so that you can change your age, then what's the point of the age restriction in the first place? But these things are seriously discussed in our society, and so we have a fool engaging in his foolish discussion. And do we answer a fool according to his folly? To some degree we must, lest he be wise in his own eyes. And this is the issue. As we said, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. The foolishness of the world sets itself against the wisdom of God. So Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you seems to be wise in this age, let him become a fool, that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, he catches the wise in their own craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. Therefore let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. If we take God out of the picture, then we misunderstand the picture. For it is God who in wisdom created this world, with a plan and a purpose, that he might bring many sons into glory. And if we try and supplant his plan, that is foolishness.